And we are live. Welcome, coaches. How are y'all doing today? I am here with a special guest. I shot my shot. He said yes, and the moment he was like, hey, can you do this time? I'm like, yes, I can. I'm here with Coach Stephen Mackey. Coach Mackey, thank you so much for being a part of this show, man. I really appreciate it.
Fired up to be here, man. Thanks for all you're doing to encourage coaches and equip them and help them keep helping kids. And that's what it's about. So glad to be with you.
All right. So I off air, I was like, hey, congratulations on the character development. You're part of the whole Texas high school thing. What does that entail, though, for coaches that don't have support like the Texas High School League in other states? What is character development, and what are you doing to help all the schools in Texas with what you do?
Right. So the endorsement you're speaking of is with the Texas High School Coaches Association.
Yes.
And they're the largest association of coaches in the world, over 24,000 members, coaches, and 98% of the high schools in the state of Texas have a coach that's a part, that is a member of the association. And so they are a nonprofit association who exists to help coaches help kids. And they've been around since, the 40s. And every year they're the authority of coaching in the state of Texas. They have coaches, they call it coaching school every July, where 13 to 15,000 coaches, of course, across from Texas, but others definitely from out of state come in. And it's the largest coaches association, a meeting of coaches in the world. And so what I've got the great privilege of getting to do with them is we were named the official character development curriculum of the Texas High School Coaches Association. And so that's really just about the highest endorsement that there can be, especially in the state of Texas. And so we're going to be partnering together to do several things for coaches. You know, we're in a hard time as a country where we're dealing with and we're wrestling with some really big issues. And coaches are on the forefront of that. You know, how to deal with racism and policing and identity and all of the issues that high school kids are already dealing with, you know, on top of all of those things. Well, you got the big issues that as a nation we're dealing with. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is creating a curriculum for the coaches of the association. It's going to be an issue-based teaching. It's going to help them deal with some of the big issues that may face. Hey, what do you do when you have some athletes who do what 17-year-old kids do, and they start heckling in the stands and they say some things that they have no business saying? And now you're responsible for that discipline. You're responsible for that teaching. And ultimately you're responsible for that redemption or that restoration. How do you do that? You know, and what do you do when you say something, you make a statement in the wake of, something tragic like George Floyd's murder, and you make a statement and your intent, well, it's the best, but the impact of your statement isn't what you intended. What do you do then? So we'll be working with coaches on that. And it's just going to be a great opportunity to pour into coaches and to invest in them as we continue our daily work of creating that character development curriculum for the athletic department so that they can give that straight to kids. And so this has put us in a spot where we're now able to invest in coaches and we're able to invest in kids and help them go beyond the game. And so that's what we do. What a privilege it is. We're fired up to get to do it.
Yeah, I'm jealous. Not only because you're in Texas and you can do. I know Texas does big things, but you have an organization that is helping other coaches do that, because we really don't have that here in South Carolina. So if I'm starting out and I want to start implementing those things into my program so I can build the future generation, what's like one or two things head coaches can do to implement to start seeing that character development in our players?
Sure. Think of it this way. If you leave it to chance, chances are it won't happen. So if you don't have an intentional game plan for how you're going to build culture, a culture of character, then you won't do it. You would never step on the field and go, hey, you know what? On offense, hey, man, we're going to run some pass plays. We're going to run some run plays, and we're going to run the touchdown play. That's the one we're going to run.
That's the one.
No, you have a very intentioned game plan. And the same thing is true for building character with your kids. Young men, football isn't going to teach young men to be grown men, right? Coaches who are intentional through the game of football can teach young men how to become men. And so the first thing I would say is be intentional and find a dedicated time. It doesn't have to be long, right? I'm talking you can be a simple word of the day or word of the week, followed up with a quote of the day, and 1 minute a day where you're just talking, hey, this is what this means for us. And so we talk about, hey, this week we're talking about toughness. Okay, here's why we need to be tough, not just because life is going to get hard, but because of what we're committing ourselves to is worth more than my discomfort, right? And we make a connection to the field. We make a connection to life. We say when you get it in the field, get it in the weight room, then you get it in the classroom. You got to be tough to pass chemistry. Unless you're just one of those rare people that just get chemistry. God bless you. All right, you just made different. Some people are born 6'13". Some people are born understanding chemistry. The rest of us, you're going to have to be tough to get it. Right? You get in the classroom, you get it the hallway. It's tough. It's tough to do the right thing when nobody's watching. It's tough to have integrity. Right? I never once did I steal a cookie when my mama was in the kitchen. Right? But when she was gone, then I had to choose: am I tough enough to have integrity or not? You get it in the hallway, you get it at the house. Get the house, you get it for the rest of your life. And so, just to have a simple intentionality to go, what connects here on the field, I want to connect it to these other places. I'm going to connect the dots. Right? That's an intentionality. Right? A second thing that I would say is this: let your athletes take ownership and be experts on themselves. Right? They know themselves. They know their struggles. They know when they do well and when they do right. They know what matters to them. And so having conversation and letting kids be the experts on them and articulate their thoughts and their ideas on what it means to be tough or to have integrity or toughness or to be a leader, letting them articulate things in conversation before you start lecturing them.
I like that. Right? Okay, so how do we do that? I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is huge. I freaking love that you said that. Because coaches, our natural instinct is if you're not doing something or something like that, we're just going to scream at you because that's what we do.
Right.
What's something that we can put in our minds like, hey, let's start having this conversation? What's like a phrase or something we can use to start that?
Right. So I'll tell you how we do it in our curriculum. So we're going to have a 7 to 10 minute video that's going to play on, all right? And you watch film on Monday. It's an install day. In the last 7 minutes of film, you're going to watch a 7-minute video of me teaching the character trait of the week. A coach could just as easily do it themselves if they have, again, that word of the week. Let's use toughness. And so we're going to talk for 7 minutes on what toughness is, how we're defining it, and why it matters. Okay. And then we're off to practice. Okay. On Tuesday, we're going to come back. We're going to have a quote of the day that connects to toughness. And then we're going to sit down in position groups, family groups, while we're stretching, whether we're on the field or we're in the classroom, in the weight room. We're going to take about 7 minutes. It doesn't take long. Take just a few minutes and talk about that quote of the day. Hey, fellas, I want you right here in your groups to talk about what this quote means to you. And then we're going to go around to each of the groups. One person from each of the 7 groups is going to stand up and share what this means to them. So that gives athletes a chance to talk to each other, and that gives them a chance to stand up and talk to their team. And they're each communicate, hey, here's what this meant to me. In our curriculum, we have a handful of questions that talk about how do we be a leader in light of the character trait of the week, how do we reach our goals in light of the character trait of the week, and how do we become a family in light of the character trait of the week. And so you might take those questions and let them talk about them in those groups. Again, we're not spending an hour on this. Right? It's a couple questions over a couple minutes. Let them talk with one another. Maybe you have a position coach there to keep them on track. And then you let them share with the team. And then you're off to practice. And the key is once you get to practice, right, look for moments to call out toughness. Look for moments to use that quote. Look for moments to talk about why this matters. And incorporate whatever that trait is into your language. Right? Hey, we got to be tough to do conditioning. And so we're going to do tough conditioning today. Hey, it's going to be tough in the fourth quarter. Hey, it's going to be tough to make the right choice, but we're going to make it. Hey, we're talking about our responsibility, and you got to block down. Look, it's going to be tough to get there, but tough people win. We got to get there. And you incorporate that language in, and what inevitably will happen is when you get into the game, right, when you know you've done it right, when your athletes will then in the game go, hey, fellas, we got to be tough. Come on, guys. Fourth quarter, tough, but it's our quarter. And they start to use that language right in the game, and that's when you know they're on the path to getting it.
I like that. So that is could you because when I talk to a lot of coaches, and I know you do too, for me, they're like, hey, I want to do this, but that's just a lot of stuff to do on top of everything else we have to do. So is it okay if, like, we say toughness is the word for the entire year and do that same thing throughout, or should we pick like 3 or 4 words and kind of split it up? Well, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the way that we do it, and lay it out we have about 1,000 campuses that use our curriculum every week. And the way that we do it for them is we have 6 pillars, and most teams are going to have pillars or, some type of standard that brands what their team is about. We have 6 pillars, right? It's goals, growth mindset, and grit. Personal code, who I am is more important than what I do, right? Work ethic, I'll be out-talented about, won't be outworked, and servant leadership. Those are the only 6 things that I talk about. I don't talk about anything else, but those 6 things.
That.
But every week that I talk about grit, I'm not going, hey guys, it's grit week, right? But what I might be doing is I might be talking about 2 words, sacrifice required, and talk about how sacrifice and the sacrifice that's required to meet our goals, the sacrifice that's required that is not optional. And I'll look at that through the lens of grit. It's like I've got this headphone case, right? And I can look at the front of it and I see bows, clean, the letters, you can't see it. But if I look at this side, then I'm going to see the zipper. If I look at this side, it's real long. If I look at this side, it's short. This way, it's wide. And I'm doing the same thing with grit and goal setting and work ethic. I'm looking at it in different ways. And I use 2 words each week to kind of turn the diamond, so to speak, or to turn it to look at it in a different way. So if you were going to say toughness is the one thing that we're going to talk about, that's we're going to be tough. That's great. But you've got to talk about all the different facets of tough. You can't just say, hey, be tough, don't quit. Well, don't quit is one way that you can be tough. But another way that you can be tough is that you can love your teammates, right? Because it's tough to love. You can have tough love. Tough love can be correction. Tough love can be, I'm going to love you even when I don't feel like it. Tough love could be, I'm going to give my best in the classroom, not just in the weight room, right? That I can turn toughness in many different ways based on the context of my kids, where we're at in the season, what happened last game, what we're looking at this next game. And so I keep talking about toughness, but I've got to turn it and contextualize it to what's happening. And so that would be my encouragement is to continue to turn and look at it in different ways. You can keep that tough people win. You can keep whatever that may be for you, whatever that branding is. And so, whatever that is, but we've got to look at things in a different way so that, because again, kids are going to be in different spots at different times. And we want them to see that this will work for them. Having great character will amplify whatever you do, wherever you are, much more so than just having great talent. Because kids today are over obsessed with talent, right? They overvalue talent and undervalue character. But what's funny is when you ask them, hey, what do you want in a great teammate? What is always their answers? Right? Hey, we want them to be dependable, be a person of their word, hardworking, right? Accountable, right? They're all things that are character based, right? We know you got to have talent, okay? But that's just given, right? You got to score more points than the other team if you want to win the game. Okay. What's not given is character. And that's why it's so important to me that we be intentional about this, because not only will it make you better on the field, but it'll help them be better in life. And talent, well, we overvalue that. Maybe you're better on the field, but you won't help them be better in life. And so this is the character is the thing that is going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's why we talk about it. So that's what I'd say. If you pick one word, great, but you got to look at it in different ways and contextualize it.
I love that. And I would also say it kills 3 birds, because you're building character, you're building a team, and the culture. This is all kind of comes into the character. And I feel as if this right here is on the cutting edge. Like a lot of the good teams do it. And I think that's what separates, if you have 2 of the same talent level, that's what separates the 2 is the character, because we have all been there and seen teams that have had great, we're like, man, I would like to have their Jimmys and Joes. And then they just break down mentally or something like that on the field. And you're like, oh, never mind. I don't want that, because I like the character of our team. And we have some coaches here today. Coach Townsend says, love this program. We use it weekly. It's a game changer. Thank you, Coach. Coach said that's a great idea about implementing the little words during video session, how that's great. Coaches, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We will ask them, and give us a thumbs up as well. I have a question for you from one of the coaches in the Facebook group. Can you turn kids that aren't very vocal leaders or into vocal leaders, or is there another way we can build them as leaders when they kind of shy away from it? Or is that just innate, like a leader's going to lead?
Hey, no, that's a great question. I think I would answer it this way. When we're going to start building a kid into a leader, I think leadership is built. No doubt they've got some natural charisma, maybe, or whatever, or there's some natural influence. Kids want to follow them. But leaders are built. It's an action. And so we can teach leadership actions just like we can give the title of a leader. And so if I'm going to start building a leader, I want to start with the thing that is going to make them the most successful. And so if what I see in this kid, let's say that he's just a really hard worker, doesn't talk a lot, but he works really, really hard. Then the way that I'm going to start by putting him as a leader is I'm going to vocally communicate and elevate and celebrate his work ethic. And so as a team, I'm calling him out in front of everybody and saying, listen, hey, Ron, right here. Hey, he didn't say much, but look at how hard he's working. You see his shirt? He's drenched. Nobody's shirt is more wet with sweat than his is. That's the work ethic I'm talking about. And I want to shout that out. And I'm going to start there by celebrating what he's naturally doing and what's easy. And then I'm gonna spend some time with him. I'll start talking to him, and I'm gonna ask, what's the next smallest step that he can take that will help him be? It needs to be uncomfortable, but it needs to be achievable. And what's the next step that he can take? Because it might be that we need him to start being vocal, but it might be that I need him to. I would say, hey, I want you to take responsibility for this group of guys right here, and hey, I want you to make sure that Jimmy and Joe and John get to work out this summer. And I'm going to hold you accountable for getting those three guys there. Now, he doesn't have to be vocal in front of everybody, but now he has a responsibility that he knows, that we know that going to have to take some work, but that he can achieve. And so then I'm going to start building those victories for him, right? And customizing that. There may be another kid that he has it in him, and he's just not been challenged enough to do it. And so, you know what? I'm going to put him on the spot. And if he fails, guess what? I'll be there to pick him up, give him an attaboy, and send him right back out there. And so leaders are not mass produced, right? They're handcrafted. And that's the hardest part because that's hard because to handcraft a leader, boy, it takes time and it takes energy and it takes effort. And we don't have a lot of that. You know what I mean? And so there's some ways that we can kind of shortcut that. And that's why with each of our curriculum lessons, there's a section, we call it the captain section. And we take the character trait of the week and say, in light of that, what does it mean to be a leader? We give a teaching and we give some questions for them to put into practice. And so that's a way that we can jumpstart that. But when a kid isn't vocal on their own, right? Well, then we need to find a next step that they can take that isn't being vocal, because that's where we default. And no doubt, sometimes we just need them. And so you might have to say to a kid, hey, listen, you're the best leader that we got. And I need you to say something, to speak up. And when you do that, here's a trick. Give them language to use, right? Because if they've never spoke up and they don't know what to say, why would they speak up, right? And so when you begin to give them language to use, right, that will make it a little bit easier for them to start stepping up and getting out of that comfort zone.
What's just a little taste of language to use? What's something they could just start? If I have a kid that I know, he, like you said, he's working hard, he's sweating, he's doing everything, but he just doesn't like to talk. What's like one thing, but like, hey, say this, and I need you to start saying it. Yeah.
It can be a simple encouragement. A kid asked me just the other day, I was down in Cuero, Texas, home of the Gobblers. Their motto is AKC. I said, man, what does that mean? Can forgive my language. He said, "It's an ass kicking chicken."
Oh, that's fine.
That's what an AKC is. I said, "Man, that's something else." And some guys said, "Hey, how can I start being a leader?" I said, you want to be a leader, the first thing you do is start encouraging people. Start encouraging your teammates. When you see your teammates do something well, call them out and celebrate them, and say, "Hey, that was a big hit. Great job. Hey, man, I see you lifting. Way to put some weight on the bar. Hey, put some more weight on the bar. You got more weight than that." You get just a simple encouragement, right? So you can give them language to encourage their teammates. when their teammates aren't living up to the standard, a way to call them out is to say, hey, that's not who we are. And then that requires them to be at the standard of, okay, well, if you're going to say that's not who we are, then when you're saying it, you better be acting like who we are. And so it calls them to both elevate their game as they call others, hey, that's not us, right? That's not us. That's not us. I had a coach, I played at U of H, Oscar Giles, a defensive line coach, and we would watch film of the other team, of another defense playing the offensive team we were about to play, right? Watch a film. And he would get angry at the opposing team's defense for not doing what we were supposed to. He's like, that's not us. That's not us. And I'm like, whoa, coach, I know that's not us. But he would get so frustrated. But it's like, that's not us. And so that's a language you can use to call a teammate out when they're not doing that. But encourage them, right? Encouragement is a great way. Holding to the standard, right? Asking them to use the word of the week or the 2 words of the week. Going, hey, we got to be tough. Hey, we're tougher than that. Hey, we got to be tougher than getting our feelings hurt. Hey, man, look, I know Coach got onto you, but look, man, hey, we got this, all right? Coach cares about us. That's why he got onto it. Let's let it go. Let's get back out here and go do this thing.
I like that. And those are things high school kids can say that don't come across, because a lot of the kids hate those leaders as false leaders, that they know that they're just saying that so the coach can hear it and praise them. But these little tweaks that you just gave, that's something that kids can say that doesn't come across as a phony leader and is encouraging. Thanks, man. I'm writing that down, and I'm actually using that come Monday. So I'm stealing that.
Let's go.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a question from Keith. Keith wants to know, awesome show. As a football coach, offensive line coach, is it better for a leader to lead through action or for a leader to be loud and emotional?
I think it depends on what the team needs, right? I mean, and I think it might change team to team. But there's going to be a team that needs somebody to speak up and put a fire under their butt. There's going to be another team that needs somebody just to lead the way. Yeah. And I think that depending on the identity of, even the position group, the identity of the offensive line, some of that's going to change group to group. But some of that can also be the culture that you create, and kind of use the phrase how you brand your offensive line, and what it takes to get them to that. I think it's just going to change time to time. The problem with being action only is that that means that you're assuming that then kids can watch and learn and apply, that they can just see what's happening and go, oh yeah, he's doing that, so I'm going to watch that and do that. Well, I can watch Michael Phelps swim and win Olympic medals, but the moment that my half-blood butt jumps in the pool, I'm sinking to the bottom because nobody taught me how to swim. And so there's a sense that if we've taught, right, and then we've tested, and we've modeled, taught, tested, they got it and rewarded it, because what gets rewarded gets repeated, and we know that there's a sense of competency, well, then leading by example can be enough. But if there's not that sense of a mastery of that culture, of that brand, of the positioning, then maybe it's more important that we're a little bit more vocal. And if they're lacking passion, then maybe we need to model what passion looks like. If they're lacking some piss and vinegar and some juice, then we need to model some piss and vinegar and some juice. But if they've got too much of it, right, and they ride the wave of their emotions, and they play great when they're high and they play really crappy when they're low, then maybe we've got to flip the opposite and go, hey, I need to teach and test and model more of that baseline and controlling of self, right? How to use your eyes to visualize yourself being successful, how to use your breath to control your mind. Control your breath, you control your mind. How to think about what's the next smallest victory that I can have, how to get a game day rep in practice so that I don't ride the emotion. And so again, it's hard to mass produce these things. They're handcrafted. And so I would say learn the identity of your line and do what they need. And if what they need changes from group to group, well, then you've got the tools, to go ahead and change with them.
Oh, that's freaking, you're dropping bombs, man. I wish I had a bomb sound effect somewhere around here I need to get, because you're doing it. I know you're a busy man. We got to go real quick.
Hey, you're good, man. You're good. I got 10 minutes longer. 12 12:15 my time.
Okay.
12:10, something like that.
Awesome. Because Cody, he says this is all great and all, but you need to talk about the coach's curriculum because it's very impactful for the staff. This is a program for everyone. It's amazing. So what is the coach's curriculum? Because I'm very interested, and that was one of the questions I want to ask. Like, this is great for kids, but do you have something that you also can? Because let's say I'm a head coach and I want to help build my staff. And I don't know what the heck to do to build that. Like, do we sit around a fire and sing Kumbaya or something like that? How do we do this? And I'm glad, Cody, thank you so much. Hat tip, high five, and butt slap for bringing this up. What is that?
Yeah, don't do Kumbaya. Don't do the Kumbaya. Not unless you got some ranch waters or shiners around there or something. Let's stay away from the Kumbaya. But listen, here's the deal. So within our curriculum, there are 5 parts to it. Okay, so it's a 7 to 10 minute video. Okay. And this is a people message. All right. I'm focusing on high school, secondary athletes, middle school, high school, right? It's gender sport neutral. So we're talking to guys, we're talking to girls. It's not a football program that, yes, softball to do. It's all secondary athletes. Man, I'm just going to tell you, this is a people message. And so that 7 to 10 minute message, it's as impactful to coaches as it is to athletes. Rhonda Farney, she's a head girls basketball coach in Georgetown, right outside of Austin. I think 2017 or 2018, she was the National Girls Basketball Coach of the Year. When I say she's one of the greatest high school girls basketball coaches in the country, that's not an exaggeration. She's literally one of the best. You say Nick Saban is the best, that's not an exaggeration, right? You say that she's the best, it's not exaggeration. And it was so impactful. What she said was, when I watch these videos, this makes me a better coach, so I can be better for my kids. The greatest compliments we've gotten. So showing the videos, it helps your coaches and your kids. But within the curriculum, that's part 1. The other 4 parts are that there's a weekly lesson that build off of the video for coaches, captains, athletes, and the family. Okay. So the captains we've already mentioned. It says in light of the character trait of the week, how do I build leaders? The athletes, in light of the character trait, how does it help me reach my goals? Why does it pay to have character? See, a lot of people doing it in a lot of ways. Why should I do it with character? The family section lets mom and dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, any adult in your district get access, a free user login where they get to watch the video at home, and we give them a 1-page encouragement to help them continue the conversation at home. And of course, if you've got kids whose parents won't do that, then you can use that section and model what it means to be a family as a team. But that coaches section, here's what we give you each week. We give you a 1-page encouragement. Think of it as a weekly staff development. We're saying, hey, in light of this character trait of the week, here's this next step as a coach that you can take to coach beyond the game. And we give you 3 things to be on the lookout for. And so we say, look, if you see these, call them out. It's going to reinforce the character trait of the week. We're helping you tune your eye to see and coach beyond the game. And then we give you a quote of the day for every day of the week that goes with that character trait. And so the curriculum in itself baked in is this weekly staff development for your coaches. And so as you're setting the theme for the week, sacrifice required, then for you as in your coaching staff, here's this next step, staff development based on sacrifice. And going, hey, what are we asking kids to sacrifice? Have we communicated why this sacrifice matters? Because we live in a why generation. Our kids want to know why, and they're not just going to ask it because they're being disrespectful. They're going to ask it because they truly want to understand why. Think about it. They've never known a world that they can't get an endless amount of answers or information, an endless depth of information, answer to a question at their fingertips. They've never not known that world. And so for them to ask why, as annoying as it can initially be, is actually they're showing you the roadmap to get their buy-in. They say, hey, show me that why this matters, that you understand what you're talking about. Let's go deep on this. And you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And you go, okay, I get it. And now I can go and do it. They have a hard time doing something they don't understand. And sometimes we need them to just do because I said so. Yeah. And that's okay. But there are other times that we can help them ask why. And so why does that sacrifice matter? So within the curriculum is that weekly staff development. Another piece that we do to help coaches is our podcast called Coach 360, which you're familiar with. And Hedger, I appreciate you. On Coach 360, what we do is we interview coaches from across the state and across the country that are first and foremost more concerned with building young men and young women than they are with winning games. That understand as a foundational part of their coaching philosophy that it takes championship kids to win championship games. And their great victory is going to be their athletes one day becoming great men and women. And they do that, they're going to be better on the field. And so we interview coaches once, twice a week and put that out there so that you can hear from coaches across that are doing all kinds of, from small schools to big schools. We got from 6-man to 6A, the smallest to the largest. And so that's another way that we're able to kind of give back. I send a weekly email out to about 10,000 coaches that use the curriculum, just a weekly encouragement, kind of, again, that weekly staff development, helping them take that next step in their journey as a coach to coach beyond the game. And then, of course, through the Texas High School Coaches Association, this is an exclusive kind of membership perk, which I don't think that you have to be a coach in Texas to be a part of. It's like $70 a year, and you can be a part of it and get access to all their great resources. But we'll be doing this idea, diversity, equity, and awareness, inclusion, diversity, equity, and awareness curriculum. That'll be issue-based, and that'll be exclusively through the High School Coaches Association.
That's freaking amazing. And MackeySpeaks.com, right? That's where they can get everything like that?
Yeah, that's where you can find kind of more about my speaking and what I do. But if you want to find out about the curriculum, you can get there from there. But the best place to go is this right here, 2words.tv/gameplan6. Let's say that again. It's the number 2 words, WORDS.TV/gameplan6. And when you go there, here's what's going to happen. You're going to find 6 weeks of our character development curriculum, the full deal, the full video, the full workbook. You can download both of them. You can use all 6 weeks with your athletes right away. And you can see what that's like, right? All the things we're talking about, the weekly staff development, the message being a people message. You're going to see each of our pillars in each one of those videos, and the way that we can talk about grit or goal setting or personal code or servant leadership in different ways that have a Friday night punch to it. And you'll also there be able to find out about our podcast. You'll be able to sign up if you want to get connected to our newsletter, any of those things. Then you can do that all at 2words.tv/gameplan and then the number 6. So it's the number 2, the number 6, 2words.tv/gameplan6. Find out all of that. And then on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/Mackey Speaks, and MACKEY, not to be confused. And you can go to youtube.com/Mackey Speaks, and there's probably, 150, 200 videos up on there. And we have coaches. I'm thinking of some coaches in Mississippi and around that just use our YouTube clips. There's 60-second clips instead of 7-minute clips. And those are some resources that are available there as well.
Okay. And all of that will be linked in the description below and also on the very first pinned comment. So, and then I'm going to send this out again. This will also be a podcast if you want to hear that. Coach, I appreciate you coming on, man. You were dropping bombs. Yeah. You're so kind with your time. Is there anything else you want to say before you go and change other programs' lives and players' lives and everything like that?
Oh man, listen, I'm so thankful to get to do this. Man, I'm a nobody from nowhere that just cared enough to care and said, my coach changed my life. And I want to help other coaches change other kids' lives. And people ask me, how'd you get into it? Why are you doing it? Man, I was a volunteer for 7 years. And when we started, I had the idea to start 2 Words. It was a challenge by a friend of mine in January of 2017. And he said, man, I think you can make a living doing it. And I said, man, there's no way. He said, don't start with no, start with yes. And if you knew it could be done, how would you do it? We laid out a plan and we went after it. And my goal, my hope was that I'd find 30 schools and I'd preach on Sundays. And that was my goal. And I thought that's all it was going to take, and that there wouldn't be more need than that. And man, it's just been such a blessing in those 4 years to go from an idea to now. This year this fall, we'll serve over 1,000 campuses across 10 different states. Since 2017, have given over 1,200 speeches in locker rooms across the country. And it's just been a blitz of 4 years. And I say all that not to brag, but to say this, that when as a coach, you look and you go, I want to build a culture of character. It can be overwhelming. And you can go, man, I'm already wearing so many different hats. I'm already doing so many different things. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. Don't start with no, start with yes.
Wrote that down.
If you knew it could be done, what would you do? And start somewhere. We've got enough resources between you two and a game plan website, and you reach out to me on Twitter, send me a DM. Listen, I will, if I can help, I will, man. When the pandemic hit, we did over 60 Zoom calls in 10 weeks. Man, just because the coaches said, hey, can you come talk to our kids? Yes. Send me a DM. I'll hop on with your kids. If I can get to where you are, I'll come. Man, I'm literally the cheapest speaker in the world, man. I travel for gas and the double extra large T-shirt, so long as you're Under Armour, Adidas, or Nike. If you're rocking like the Russell or something, then it's like, hey, man, we're gonna have to talk. But anyways, the point in all that saying is if I can help you, I want to help you. It's why we're doing what we're doing, and you can do it. It's gonna take you caring enough to care, being a little bit intentional. You don't have to be, some massive built out thing to build great character. You just got to care enough to care about your kids. If there's any way that we can help you, then don't hesitate to reach out. We'll do whatever we can do to help you out. So thanks for the chance to encourage, and thanks for the chance to be on.
All right, Coach. And again, coaches, if you're watching this, it's going to be in the all the links to everything that he does will be in the description below and the very first pinned comment. Coach, thanks so much for being here. And coaches, until next time, I will see you later.